Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's episode of Jabber with Jengar. Today we are going to talk about COVID, if I can actually do it. If you want to believe it, this is take 15. This is officially the most repeated commentary that I try to put on a video. I fucking derailed myself so many times. I am fucking pissed off right now. Hopefully I can keep my mood in check because this is not your fault. This is not even the COVID's fault or the government's fault, but fucking hell, man, I am pissed off right now with me. I managed to derail myself on the details so many times. I actually don't want to talk about the details today. But yeah, I do want to start with two things that I want to talk about before I start, that I want to attend to because of last time. I talked about this in July last time, in the summer, and there were a lot of people with a lot of criticism. And let me just put two things to bed. First things, I did not compare COVID-19 and the measures of our government to the Holocaust. I did not do that. What I did compare it with is the period between 33 and 36 when it comes to Hitler's measures against the Jews. And I did that because there is striking similarities to it, even in the laws that are being put out right now. But I didn't compare it to the Holocaust itself, to the end result of this stuff that Hitler did in the Second World War. So let me get that straight. Those things are not comparable. Let's start off with death, because we are not in that phase yet. If they would take it that far, we are not there yet. We are in the measures and laws part, and excluding, which I want to talk about mainly, by the way. But let's just keep it to this first. A second thing is I'm not an anti-vaxxer. Let me get that out of the way as well. I've gotten most of my shots. I am very positive about many of the shots, which has disappeared a lot of very bad diseases. So yeah, some of the vaccines are very good against some of the bad diseases. And my son has also gotten these big vaccines. And no problem for the rest. Fine, good. But let's not kid ourselves. These pharmaceutical companies, Big Pharma, is a huge industry that is making a profit from people's bad health. And they have been paying in the last 30 years many billions and billions in fines. And not one time or two times. They have lost a lot of cases being put in front of them because of bad medication, bad products, bad information, or omissions in the information that people should have actually gotten. And they've been taken to court, and they have lost, and they have paid billions of fines. And now we have to trust these companies, these same companies, with our health, with this vaccination that they want to put in everybody for a virus which is arguably no more dangerous than the common flu season. Actually, the numbers right now put out that COVID is about 0.15% IFR right now. The infection fatality rate is at 0.15%. That was before Omicron, by the way. Omicron is 0.08% IFR. And you know what the common flu is? About, depending on the season, between 0.10 and 0.20. 2016 and 2018 flu seasons were about 0.2 when it comes to IFR. Some other seasons are less, so the average is about 0.15, and that is where COVID is as well. So yeah, man, it is not more dangerous than the flu, and we are being introduced to a vaccination by these pharmaceutical companies that, well, may not be very trustworthy, right? We can see that in the court cases that they lost and the billions of fines that they paid. But anyway, I'm critical of that. I'm almost derailing myself here again because there's so much to talk about when it comes to that. But let's get back to the basics. I'm not anti-vax. I did not compare where we are at right now with the Holocaust. I compared it with Hitler's initial phase of regulations and laws against the Jews. Okay, so there is that. Let's move into the subject where I actually want to talk about, because I can talk extensively again about this vaccination that has been produced in 9 to 10 months, where normally vaccines are produced in 10 years because of safety regulations, because of long-term testing. I could talk about the fact that we are in the third experimental phase, which is usually in the regular testing. They could not release a vaccine before finishing these tests because they want to make sure it's safe. They didn't do that. They can never say it's safe. I can talk about camps that we talked about. I can talk about mandatory vaccinations that we talked about. Well, not everybody, many people didn't, by the way. About 2/3 of you said I was right. About 1/3 of you said that I was selling conspiracy theories. Mandatory vaccinations are almost here, people, in Austria. They want to start with it in February. Mandatory vaccinations. COVID pass, QR codes. It was all a conspiracy theory. And look at what's happening. But anyway, I can talk hours on these subjects. And we've seen it develop since last time. Half a year ago, you guys still, some of you, still told me that it was conspiracy theories. Right now, it is all fact. It is all here. So let's not talk about that. If you are still for these vaccinations, you're still for what the government says, if you still believe their story that COVID is very dangerous with these kind of numbers, you're just not researching things. If I cannot convince you of this by now, I don't know what to tell you, man. It is right there in front of you. An agenda is being pushed out. Is it about our health? I doubt it. I think it's about control. But again, I'm not going to derail myself with this stuff again, because we can only get into arguments and stuff like that. And if you don't know the facts by now, if you cannot search for 5 minutes on the internet to get some information put out there by scientists, Nobel Prize winners, inventors, what can I say? I'm a guy who makes videos on YouTube, who works with mentally disabled people. So you're definitely not going to believe me, but there are facts out there. You can go and find them. If not, fine. But we can agree to disagree, or we can agree. But I don't want to talk about all this stuff there is there for information. What I want to talk about is, do we want to exclude people from society? Do we want to create second-rate citizens? Is that what we want to do for this virus? Really? Because that is what making me fucking angry. And my voice is almost destroyed because I made 15 attempts. I've been trying to make a video since 11 o'clock this morning, and it is now 1:30. 15 attempts, so I'm fucking pissed. I'm still pissed, man. I can laugh about it a little bit by now. But anyway, let's go into that. Exclusion. There has been many times before in history where we saw exclusion. In the time of Rome, we had slaves that were excluded from full rights. Right? If you got captured by pirates, you're sold. I mean, human life was worth nothing back then. Slaves were excluded. We have, for example, the witches in the Middle Ages were excluded from society, were put to death. We have the communists in America in the 50s, which were excluded and sought out. So that was political. It was a very weird period as well, where those people were excluded from society, where everybody was looking around them for somebody to snitch on, right? Very, very strange situations. We have the Second World War with the Jews who were being excluded. We have had apartheid in South Africa. And we have had many more examples. The Arabic slavery of Europeans. We had the colonial age where Western world enslaved people and excluded people. There has been so many examples of exclusion throughout history. And every time it ended badly. The moment you start to exclude people for whatever reason, you get zealots, you get people who are deeply invested in this stuff, who want to exclude these people even more. You get people who want to, be one of those camp guards, right? In the Second World War. You always have these fanatics in there who will do even more than you told them to do. And you're already seeing that happen. You see violence being used in trains in Holland to people who don't wear a mask, for example, who might have a medical reason they don't want to share with you. But people take laws into their own hands, and society in general becomes way less unpleasant. We have people who can sit outside on a terrace but cannot go into the toilet. So this is a very clear example from the apartheid era, where black people had to go to separate toilets. There is so much here, guys, that we are actively propagating in our societies right now that is so bad. I mean, if any one of you, whether you're vaxxed, unvaxxed, for the government measures, against them, you cannot be for this, can you? Do you want to put people into camps? Where does that end? Where do you think it ends? Because I will never be vaccinated. Never. I don't see corona as a risk. I don't think these vaccinations are safe. Actually, I know they're not safe, but again, I am not going into that because I'm not going to derail myself anymore. But I will never take it, never. How far do you want to go if you are for vaccination? How far do you want to go to vaccinate everybody? There is a certain group in society that has so much backbone that will not back down. People who are either for freedom or who know from their own experience that these vaccinations are not safe from people around them, who will never take this shot, whatever you do to them. So do you want to kill them? Is that how far you are willing to go? Do you want to imprison them? Do you want to take everything from them? Where do we want to go? In what kind of society do we want to live? We have children in schools making fun of, teasing and hitting other children who are unvaccinated, who don't wear mouthpieces, stuff like that. This is starting to turn into Hitlerjugend, man. I mean, seriously. These children are being taught that a certain behavior is good and other behavior is not good. And we are looking at it, we are letting it happen. It's another part of it, man. It scares me to death. This exclusion. Second-rate citizens, excluding people. And now what? Forced vaccination? If people come by here, by my house, and they're going to try to put a jab in my arm, bad things are going to happen. I don't have firearms, man, but I'm going to defend me and my family if I have to. And, well, I'm pretty sure they're not going to do that, because they know this group that hasn't been vaccinated by now is probably doing that out of principle. And people who don't want to have this vaccination out of principle, you're not going to dislodge them from their situation. You know, these are the freedom lovers, the people who want to make their own decisions, and often the free thinkers as well, the people who are informed. They will never take this vaccination. Is that how far we are willing to go? Is that really what we want? Do you guys want that? I really would love to hear in the comments. Do you want to force people to take this vaccination? I really wonder. I mean, some of the governments are starting to move in that direction. Is this what we want? Because I definitely don't want to go there. And if you want to talk about comparison to any of these situations that I talked about in the past, apartheid, witch hunts, the procession towards the Holocaust. I'm not saying the Holocaust itself yet, because we're not doing that yet. But this excluding people has definitely happened before. I mean, the Jews, had it happened to them, they couldn't go to the cinema, then they couldn't have a shop anymore, then they have to give away their houses, then they got more regulation, then they couldn't be free anymore, then they had to put a yellow patch on their coat for easy recognition. That's excluding, right? Can we agree on that at least? That part of that whole shit stuff, that shit show that happened in the Second World War, before they were sent to the camps and being destroyed, that the whole shit show before that was about excluding people, making second-rate citizens, black people in South Africa, apartheid, Jews in the Second World War, slaves in all kinds of periods, excluding people from normal society. That's what we are doing right now, right? We are repeating history. If you cannot see that right now, tell me why it's not the case. Tell me why it's different. Give me an explanation on how we are still free. free to choose what we want, but then not free to participate in society. How free are we actually still? This goes to a very fundamental basic principle, people. What kind of society do we want our children to grow up in? I repeat, what kind of society do we want our children to grow up in? Because we are going to decide that here and now in the next few years. Don't make any mistakes. This is not going away, man. This is about how we are going to live in the future. This is about how we are going to build our society from this point onwards. Do you really want this? I mean, this always makes me silent because people don't realize the severity of this. This is not gonna go away anymore. COVID is here to stay. And again, we can agree or disagree on the details. I don't think it's dangerous. It's been part of the flu season every year, and COVID is not more serious than the flu. So that's my opinion. We can have different opinions about that. What I do like to know is, do you want to live in the society that they are proposing to us right now? Do you want this separation, this segregation? Non-vaxxed cannot share a toilet with vaxxed people. Mandatory vaccinations in countries. Fines, prison time. Do we want to live in this world? I want you to think about that. I would love to see your comments. I think probably I hope every one of you don't want this. There's no excuses, man. There is no excuses for this. I mean, we talk a lot, or well, me and some of my friends talk a lot about the psychological process that is involved in bad periods of our history. You know that I majored in the Second World War during my history studies at the university. So I studied history. I know a little thing about this. I'm not just had a medical education and went to work with mentally disabled people. I was supposed to become a history teacher before that. I finished my studies there, and I am very serious about this subject. I know about this subject. The World War II was my main interest back then, but Romans as well. But anyway, this exclusion and how a population gets there, the demonization, the propaganda campaign involved, and then getting people to accept that a certain group of people is not wanted anymore. A certain group of people does not belong in society anymore. We've seen this multiple times in our history. And all blessings to you if you took the shot and you want that. Fine, you took the risks, you have to live with it. And it may or may not happen, whatever, we'll see. But do you want to live in a society that excludes people, forces the people to certain medical procedures and going to jail them, and what else in the future? Do we want to live in this society? Do we want to repeat the mistakes we made in the past? Ah, man, if you don't know your history, history is bound to repeat itself, right? You know that saying? I'm not exactly sure what it was again, but the less you know about your history, the more it is bound to repeat itself, because human psychology remains the same. People want to make you believe that science is straight on things, that science is agreeing on everything, on COVID, on climate change, all that jazz. But it's not. There is huge numbers of scientists that are debating the government corona approach. There is huge amount of scientists going against the grain when it comes to climate change. And there's a lot of evidence that discuss. We are not having the debates. We are not having the discussions. And when that happens, when censorship kicks in, you know there is a narrative. You know there is certain things they don't want to hear because they don't want to have the debate. And man, if you want this world, you are lost. Seriously. If you don't want to have this debate and you want to shut people down who want to talk about this, you want people in camps, you want people forcefully jabbed, you are basically the camp guard in the Nazi era. And I'm gonna put this out harshly. If you do not deserve democracy, you cannot say that this is democratically decided and chosen. If you want to exclude people and you want to force people to do certain things they don't want to do, you are no better than the gross part of German society that went along with Hitler. You would be in that group. It's the same psychological stance. It's the same psychological situation. You have been led down that path then. Because nobody can be for this scenario, this unfree scenario, this dictatorial situation where we would do that to a certain group of people. We don't want you people. We want you out. So yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I hope you have some nice comments for me about this subject. I think we should not allow it, if that is not obvious. We cannot allow this backwards movement from away from democracy and towards tyrannical stuff. This is not good, man. We're moving in the wrong direction. And hopefully, I think, I see it happening actually on the demonstrations that I go to on a regular basis. I see more and more people who are actually vaccinated and who are against the QR codes, who don't want to live in an unfree society, and who go to the demonstrations because of that reason. They got vaxxed, they believe the story, but now they're like, you guys are going too far. We're going towards tyranny. And I just wanted to see how many people here agree with that. How many people who were against my opinions and might still be against my opinions about COVID, about the danger of COVID, about the jabs, the safety of them and all that jazz. Are you for this tyrannical system that we're going to? Do you want to exclude people? Do you want second-rate citizens? Let me know in the comments, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.